Okay, yeah. So mostly today I'll try to give more theoretical explanation. Okay, if time permits, maybe I'll show the demo for one model. Okay, how to use all the stuff. Okay, let's start then. Okay, so let's take large language models. Everybody is talking about large language models, right? So nowadays LLMs, shortly we'll call them as LLMs. So LLMs, so let's see how high level how they works. Okay, how they trained or how they works internally. Let's take that we'll call as a prompt. A prompt is basically a text, input text. Whenever it receives a text, right, so that will be tokenized. Okay, that will call as tokenization basically splitting the text into words. Okay, now I'll go more detail in the coming sessions, but initially I'll try to make it more high level. So for now, consider tokenization is simply splitting the input into words. Okay, so after tokenizing that, so what it will do is it basically get the embeddings. Okay, so embeddings for now treat those as numerical values. After tokenizing, so it will convert into embeddings. Embeddings basically numerical values. And after embeddings, what it will do? So basically transform. Okay, so transform, you can see the word attention. Transform it with attention. That attention is basically the context of the input. Okay, so here with LLMs, when you are dealing with LLMs, context is always important. Context is the key. Okay, so it will identify the context basing on the input, basing on the prompt. Then it will predict the result and it will give the response. This is the high level flow of any LLM. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, so these are the high level things. So the whole thing, this internal process we'll call as large language model, whether it is a training or whether it is after taking the input how it is going to process. High level, these are the high level steps involved in LLM. Okay, so large language models. In this, let's take a use cases. So what are the use cases of these large language models? So we every day we are using this chat gpt or some other llm applications, right? Majority what we are doing is text generation or summarization, maybe completion of the text, right? So these are the things we are regularly using. We can also use these llms for a qa kind of thing or chatbots. Okay, earlier chatbots used to have a question and answer thing. Nowadays, chatbots are more like NLP, natural language programming kind of thing. If you give a question, they can understand it and they can respond. Okay, and coding and developer tools like Copilot is the core, Amazon Q, all these kind of things we can use for these large language models. And knowledge extraction and data analysis. From the given input, we can extract the core information and we do it for analysis purpose. Okay, and translation like converting one language to other language, so all the stuff, these are the core use cases of large language models. Why I'm talking about these things, right? When you are developing agentic applications or llm applications, we need to consider, so in which scenarios we need to use which large language model. Okay, so those kind of things normally, so these are the common use cases. Okay, so even though we're talking about all large language models, advantages, utilities, all the things, let's take initially what are the limitations. Okay, so how to overcome those limitations. Okay, for that first we need to see what are the limitations of large language models. Let's see, the first thing is so basically biasing. Okay, so obviously these models are trained on some particular specific data, So obviously we'll get the results basing on that data only. Okay, so now the large language models are more common, so less bias. But if you see machine learning models, okay, so machine learning models are more biased. Okay, so I've seen a movie in Netflix. There is a movie called Coding. Coding is a movie I think I have seen in 5 years back. So it was showing a live example. So actually, in that, the model is trained. Facial recognition system is trained on a lot of data. Okay, a lot of humans, and that was implemented in London. Okay, London city they implemented it, and also it was giving um, alerting if any black person is there. It is more likely it is saying that it is a thief or something like person. Okay, because that model is trained more on white people. Okay, that's kind of biasing. Okay, it really happened. It really happened in London. Okay, so if you have a time, go and watch that movie. It is there in Netflix. Okay, these kind of things will happen because the data is trained on specific particular data. So model is trained on specific data. If you're trained on specific data, you should ask those specific data only. Okay, that is one of the limitation. So some of the examples are gender bias, racial bias. Okay, so these kind of things, and predictions also will favor those data. Okay, so to avoid that, so prompt is the key thing. Prompt designing, fine tuning, okay, so of the data set. Okay, so how to detect bias data, and we need to train basing on that. Okay, this is the one of the way to overcome biasing problem. And so this is more likely on machine learning models. So because large language models also trained on data, so this is one of the possibility. Okay, and the main thing with large language model is hallucinations. Okay, so LLM sometimes give incorrect data. Okay, so mostly that data is dates, code. Okay, so related to that information, mostly it will give incorrect data. Okay, so how to avoid that? Maybe you can use RAG systems or fact checking. You have some more levels. Okay, so are giving a cautious prompts. Maybe I'm going to discuss this prompt on the next session. Okay, this is one of the problems of large language model. And another one is it's like a context length. Okay, so limitation of context length, because it's all based on the tokens. So even though if we give a more data, maybe it's going to convert into tokens, and if the token limit increases, it truncates the data. That is also one of the limitation. So not problem, limitation of large language model. Okay, so if you give a so larger documents, it will truncate. So to avoid that kind of thing, so you can go for chunking of the data or summarization, or use some other RAG based systems. Okay, so here I'm talking about the limitations, right? If you see in the limitations, mostly we are talking about prompt. Either cautiously give the prompting, or you design the prompt so that you'll get a more accurate information. Okay, so here comes so usage of a prompt, that we'll call as a prompt engineering. Okay, let's see. So what is the prompt engineering? How we can use? Why we need prompt engineering? All stuff. So any questions here? You guys are following? Okay. Yeah. So let's go to prompt engineering. Yeah, well, prompt engineering basically giving a input to the LLM, or asking a question, or asking a LLM basically. Yeah, we are daily using this prompting basically. Okay. Yeah. So daily usage is fine. Also, but when you are developing applications, we need to understand so how prompt works. Okay, so what are the better ways to get accurate information? Okay, there comes a prompt engineering. Okay, so nowadays we are using, so why we are calling prompt engineering? Basically there is a process. Okay, so all applications it is taking input. Okay, so we are calling that as input, whereas here we are calling as a prompt. Okay, so let's take what is a prompt engineering. So prompting is basically so practice of designing and refining input. Okay, basically giving a proper or efficient input to LLMs or any AI systems to achieve a specific specific output or useful output. It's basically how effectively you are communicating with AI system. That is what prompt engineering. Okay, you can ask questions, so that's fine because we don't have any limitations because everything is free in ChatGPT or other applications. So that's why we are not considering prompt as a key thing. But when you are developing applications, that is for corporate. Okay, so that everything is so sensitive. Okay, everything is limited. We need to be more careful on taking a prompt. Okay, that's why you need to understand how effectively we are going to interact with AI machines, AI systems. Okay, so let's see what are the principles of prompt engineering. Maybe so if you understand this core principle, maybe you can get more insights on how to use prompting. Okay, so first thing is a clarity. Okay, you should have a clarity. So you should be very clear about what you want. You should not give ambiguous prompts. If you give an ambiguous prompt, right, so it will give so unpredictable outputs because it assumes. Let's take what is the price of apple. Okay, so apple, whether it's a fruit or it's a company, so we are not giving, right. So it's the question is what is the price of fruit. It's not clear, there is no clarity whether you're talking about a fruit or you're talking about a company or you're talking about something else. Okay, maybe person, so some person may have an apple, so all the stuff, right. So we don't know. So that's why you need to have a clarity, that is important. So otherwise if you're not specifying clearly, okay, so it will assume, LLM will assume and will give the result. So tell me about AI. So tell me about is more generic, right. So AI in which field, it's not clear. So now, so AI is in all domains, right, in all fields. So we are not specifying which field you want to get the information about AI. That is not clear. So that should be like this. Explain the applications of AI in healthcare in 3 bullet points, something like that. It's more clear, right. We are giving so clearly. It should be in healthcare, and so it should be in 3 bullet points and AI applications. So it's very clear. So like this you should give a prompt. And another one is context. I think I already discussed about this. Context is so very important. So that's what's the price of apple. So here there is no context. Okay, so you need to give what is the price of apple fruit in Hyderabad. Okay, that is more so context, because apple basically we are specifying it's a fruit and we are getting a price in a location, geographical area. Okay, that's what context is very important. So because we are talking about natural languages. Okay, so natural language, in natural languages context is the key. So whereas in programming languages it's not about context. There is no context in programming languages. Whereas in natural languages, like the communication between humans, we need a context. We need to specify the context. Okay, so context is basically so background of the prompt, so that so AI can understand. So here the thing, you are an experienced Python developer. Explain decorators with examples. So I am giving clear information. So so experienced Python developer. See, I am specifying that as well. Okay, so I'm giving complete information. So developer, you can say developer, but developer so is having a different skills, right? So here I'm specifying context, Python developer, and explained decorators with examples. Python developer, so I'm giving a language, and I'm also giving a topic, decorator. Decorator is a topic in Python, so I'm clearly specifying this is a context. Okay, so if you give explain about decorators with example, so decorators, it's there in all languages, right? The decorator is a common word as well, so you'll get that. So that's why you need to specify the context. And another one is, it's not a major one, but when you are integrating with the multiple systems, you need to have some formatting as well, right? So formatting, so all the stuff you need to follow, so that you need to specify. So like length of the output, style, format, and perspective. Like perspective is also kind of context. Let's see, write a 150 word formal email to client declining a request politely. See, these are the words you need to use. So formal email, okay, so to the client politely, 150 word, we are limiting, we are limiting. So these are the things, so we need to specify. So it's depending upon the context. And so if it is a complex system, let's say currently we are not handling complex system, because there is only one LLM, like ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity and Claude, all those things. So we are directly interacting with the system. So if you have a complex system, you need to divide that into steps, okay, multiple steps, and so integrate in the multiple modules and ask the question for each module and do it. Okay, it's a step by step so guidance. These are the core modules we need to consider when you are developing AI application or AI system or agentic AIs, or whenever you interacting with the AI system. Any questions here? Are you guys following? It's not kind of exact prompt, so you no need to do exact prompt, but context, that's the meaning of the thing, okay, should be clear. Okay, so you can ask what is the price of apple. Okay, so so we can ask what is the price of apple. So so in which context? So price of the apple company or price of a fruit, we don't know, right? So those kind of things you need to specify clearly. So yesterday I was talking, I was asking a question. My intention was to get the knowledge of Python, because in Python there are two different servers, Starlet and Waitress. There are two different asynchronous and web servers. Okay, so I thought of getting the information for those things. I have given a question like, give me the pros and cons of Waitress and Starlet. This is the question I have given, and I got the answer of Waitress company and Starlet company. I don't know whether these are exit or not. I got that information because I did not specify in Python or web servers in Python. I did not specify that. Okay, so that's why you need to specify the context and the mood and everything, so that it will think like that, to think like a human. Okay, so you cannot discuss about agentic information, LLMs, to a common people, right? So let's go to the public, and so you cannot ask this thing to your parent. Your father, your parents may not understand these things. Their context is different, right? So that's why we need to understand with whom you are interacting with what are the applications, the applications you are developing for whom, who are the users. Okay, depending on that, we need to have a prompting, handling the AI systems. Okay, yeah, so there's a prompt, so it's very important. There are different kinds of prompts. Okay, yeah, we are using that, but let's take that. So using is different. When you are developing application, we need to understand more clearly. Okay, what are the different things we need to handle also. So that's why yeah, anyway, this thing is break down the process of deploying FastAPI application into multiple steps. Okay, this is the example for that. Anyway. Okay. There is one more thing. So iterative refinement. So this thing we commonly use in everyday usage of ChatGPT, right? You're asking something and it's not giving a proper answer. Again, you are asking. So no, no, I want like this. So this kind of iterative refinement. Okay, this kind of repeating multiple prompts and getting the information. Okay. So there are different types of prompts. Let's take so one by one. There are basically four. Okay, instructional prompts. So mostly we use this one. Okay, maybe most of the people they'll use instructional prompts. What it is basically means is we are directly giving a command and instruction to get a specific task. Okay, we are directly giving. So give me this code for this one. Give me the code for adding two numbers. So like that we'll ask, right? We are giving that one. It's a direct command or instruction, whatever you call, to get a okay. So model. So we are giving a request kind of thing. You are just follow this. Okay. So so you take the question and give the answer. So model will not think of anything else. Give the input, get the output. So basically, you're telling what exactly you need. That's what this instrumental, sorry, instructional prompt. So this basically focus on one task at a time. It's not a multiple task. So give me this result. Give me this output. What is the result of this one? These are the questions. It's a command kind of thing. So here we are not giving ambiguous thing. We are giving one simple task, one task. So it reduces the ambiguity. This is a kind of thing. So some of the examples I have given this thing. Write a professional email to a client declining a request politely. This is kind of simple this thing. Okay, explain the concept of blockchain. Okay, to a high school student in a simple terms. This instruction. Okay, so these are the things normally we use every day, right? So so these but normally we will not call, we don't know whether that's instructional or some other prompt, but mostly we'll use this one. Okay, and the next one is zero shot prompt. So if you are so good in prompting, if you are expert on this thing, some people may use this one. Okay, so I mostly use this as well. You are asking the model to perform a task without giving any examples. Okay, so without giving an examples, summarize the following paragraph in 2 sentences. Okay, this is an example of that. Yeah, it is also depending on instructions. Okay, it is also giving instructions, but we are giving some more data. Okay, summarize the below text, something like translate the below sentence into some other language. These are the examples. Okay, this we call as a zero shot prompt. Without giving examples, we are giving some data and giving instruction to perform on that data. Okay, so first one is instructional prompt. We are giving a command or instruction to get the information, whereas the zero shot one is we are giving a command or instruction and input as well. Perform that request or instruction on the given data. Okay, that we will call as a zero shot prompt. Are you clear here? So both are look similar, but there is a minor difference. Guys, you are following it? Okay, yeah. So this is a zero shot prompt. Let's take another one that is few shot prompting. Okay, so few shot prompting is so giving a so instruction or input with the sample examples. Okay, this actually I didn't know that's a few shot prompt, but I used in one of the application. I'll show the demo. Okay, so this is a kind of few shot prompting where you are going to give some examples. This few shot prompting is also called example prompting. Okay, so you are asking the question and you are also giving a sample example. So the output should be like this. Okay, I am expecting a data like this, so something like that. So these examples will act as a guidance for the model. Okay, so basically you are giving some key points so that you'll get a better answer. So these are so very helpful for the task where instructions alone may not be available, or for the complex applications. So complex or ambiguous applications, this few shot prompting will help. Okay, and the next one is this is one of the so it's not complex. When you are developing any agentic applications, we are going to use this chain of thought prompting. This is basically, so whenever you're getting an answer, right, so it's kind of a multiple choice question and descriptive question. So normally are fill in the blanks kind of thing. So when you ask a question, either you can answer it, and so in the multiple choice or in a fill in the blanks questions, right, normally we'll answer it, right, we'll only write answer, right. So whereas in descriptive thing, we need to explain the logic step by step, how you got the answer. Okay, chain of thought is basically that thing. It gives the answer and it also gives the reasoning step by step, how you got that answer. Okay, so this is called a chain of thought. Instead of giving only answer, so it also explains how you got that final answer. So this is basically comparing with how humans solve a problem, right. So when you're getting the answer, so people will not some people will not, how you got the answer, can you explain? So like that we'll ask, right. So you need to explain the things, so how you got that answer, that will call as a chain of thought. So that in short we call it COT. Okay, chain of thought is it's very important when you are developing agentic AI applications. Okay, so so all public LLM applications doesn't care of chain of thought. So getting answer is fine, but when you are developing applications, you need to know how you got the answer. Okay, how you got the output. So you need to get those kind of steps. Okay, so that's where come chain of thought. Let's take an example of chain of thought. Let's say this is a question. The train travels 60 kilometers per hour for 2 hours, then 90 kilometers per hour for 3 hours. How far it traveled in total? Solve step by step. That is important. That is a prompt. Okay, if you're not giving a solve step by step, it just gives the answer. No, that is not we need. What we need? We need a clear understanding, right? So these things are to learn, so that the next time if the similar question comes, we can solve it. Okay, this is the answer I got from ChatGPT. Guys, these things all I have taken from ChatGPT. Okay, so so this kind of answer I got it. So it's clearly saying steps. Okay, to find out the distance, I need a formula, speed and time. So step by step it's giving. So this one of the example. And so another example is I want to plan a 3-day trip to Paris with a limited budget. Suggest itinerary step by step. Okay, so for this I got this information from the ChatGPT. So day 1, day 2, day 3 and budget trip, use local transportation and local restaurants. Okay, so this is one thing. And one more, explain step by step, write a Python function that returns a Fibonacci sequence up to n numbers. This is another prompt I have given, and I got this thing. So if you compare these things, there are different prompts. Okay, but overall high level I'm getting explanation as the reasoning why I got the final result. Okay, so so this is how, so from now onwards, when you are trying to ask a question to any LLM application, you try to use these prompting techniques. Okay, So it will help you a lot, so you will get accurate information and it will help you to develop agentic AI applications. It looks almost all looks similar, like few shot, chain of thought and zero shot, instrumental, all looks similar, but there is a minor differences. Okay, so chain of thought and few shot is look similar because we are giving examples, we are getting a reasoning. Let's compare both those things. Okay, few shot is basically we are asking a prompt and we are also giving examples, some of the examples, maybe one or two or three examples. Whereas chain of thought, we are asking a model but giving a reasoning, step by step reasoning. Okay, so whereas in a few shot, the goal is to get the answer with the expected format, because we have given an example, right? The task pattern or whatever the format we have given, we are expecting the same format as the output. Whereas chain of thought scenario, we are basically improving the or increasing the accuracy with the reasoning. Okay, that is basically, it gives the transparency because it know it is giving how it got the result. Whereas in few shot, it is not giving how it got the result, but it's giving expected format. That's it. Okay, so whereas in few shot prompting, we are giving examples, sample examples. So chain of thought, we are specifying step by step explanation. Okay, so when to use, when to not use, that we need to clearly understand. So here and a few short scenario, so just instructions may not be helpful, like classification, so translation or formatting the pattern. Okay, I given a I developed one application, I will show that. So with the examples, so in that scenarios we need to give a example. So whereas a chain of thought, when you need exact reasoning or why you got the final answer like that, in that scenario you need to use a chain of thought method. Okay, so output is in a few shot, in the output is always direct, there is no reasoning, so you get the, whether it's matching with the expected input format or not. Whereas chain of thought, it's a detailing, it will give a internal steps involved how you got the final answer. So few shot is basically a translation, sentiment analysis, classification kind of thing. You can go for few shot. Whereas chain of thought is like when you're developing agentic AI kind of thing, or word problems, logical, any planning is required, logical puzzles or any logic involved. In that scenario, you can go for chain of thought. Okay, so here is a planning task. Planning task we already discussed in model context protocol, if you remember. Okay, those kind of things we'll use. Any questions here? Okay, so maybe tips or anything. So this will help you to develop efficient agentic AI applications. Let's say. So you should explicitly specify the steps, explain step by step, or show your reasoning. So normally I'll also use while asking question to ChatGPT or any LLM applications. I'll clearly ask like this: give me step by step. Okay, so why you got this answer? Why not this one? So when I'm designing a system, right? So first I'll ask, give me database design. Okay, it will give some design, then I'll ask again, so why you are giving this approach, why not this approach, then I'll ask that kind of thing, so that it will give the reasoning. So why this approach is better, why not this one, why this approach is better for these scenarios, these kind of things. Okay, and for complex tasks, so complex task, agentic agentic AI application developing is a complex thing, so those scenarios we need to go for this one. So break into instructions, break into sub modules. Okay, so breaking instructions or breaking a module into sub module is almost similar. Okay, so you need to break the system into smaller modules and so go for this one. Okay, Another one is you need to specify the role actually. Okay, so combine with the specific role here, like you are a when you are asking, if you remember, I have given a Python example. I'm clearly saying you are a Python experienced Python developer. That is a role. Okay, we are specifying the LLM, saying that here you are saying you are a math tutor. Okay, solve the problem step by step. You are a Python developer. Okay, give me the algorithm or sequence of stuff initially before writing the code. These kind of things. Okay, so another one is multi-step decision making. Okay, so that's for agency, already discussing that only. Okay, so any questions here? Are you guys following? Guys, can you respond? Okay. Yeah. So more on theory, but that is fine. You try to understand these concepts. Okay. So this is what we are going to. So finally, overall, how your prompt handling the prompt is the key thing for any agentic AI applications. Okay, so that's why yeah, there are many videos if you see prompt engineering, so that's, but no need of that much so time you need to spend, but you need to understand it. Okay, core concepts, how you are interacting with the system, how is agentic AI system, that you need to understand. Basically, if you understand that, then so most of the implementation is going to be easy. Okay, so yeah, concepts are there, so basically some systems, but how you are going to interact with. Okay, so when some prompt comes, so when you are going to go for API call, when you are going for a LLM call, also those kind of things, it depends on purely on prompt understanding. Okay, yeah, this is all about prompt. Let's go to next thing is LLM workflows. Okay, so workflows are basically, as in the high level, we call them as a LLM workflows, but whereas if we say it's applications. Okay, agentic AI applications or AI agents, all the stuff. Let's see so what is a workflow basically. So LLM workflow is basically, so we got the prompt, which is step one. Let's take step one is anything. I'm generalizing it here. Okay, so that step one could be anything, and output of that step one we are passing to step two. That could be another level, or maybe that we can assume this one is a step one is a front end, maybe web app or desktop app, mobile app, that is passing the data to step two. Step two, assume that is our back end. Okay, so on the back end we have, and from that back end, maybe that after step two, maybe back end may be interacting with LLM via prompt by sending that input as a prompt. That LLM may be using some other step, maybe that may be using some other could be LLM, maybe some API, and then that after step 3, maybe it is going to interact with another LLM, maybe same LLM or another LLM, and after that maybe you'll get a final response. Okay, this could be one workflow. This is a high level. If you implement anything using this workflow, that becomes one agentic app or maybe LLM app. If you see this flow is in sequence, right? This is in sequence. That is kind of a chain, right? This is a kind of chain. This is called chaining. Okay, this one way of workflow, one kind of workflow. So to develop a LLM application, and there is another workflow. Let's take that as a step A. Okay, so step A is maybe front end or something, anything we can treat that as any step, and that step A is going to next step, that is LLM. It's interacting with LLM. That LLM may this LLM may interact with another LLM. Okay, then is another step. That LLM may, what is happening? sorry guys. So it is interacting with another LLM. That LLM may have another step to validate or do some other thing. Okay, it is also have some other got the response and it is passing back to LLM. That's one way. Or in the second LLM level, so it may have a step E and step F, and after completing that it may come to LLM, and this LLM may have another step, is having step B or having a step C. Okay, this is another kind of workflow. If you see here, one is sequential thing, another one is with multiple directions. Okay, these multiple directions, if you see, that's a kind of a graph, right? This is a kind of a graph. Okay, so that graph is having a nodes and edges. So this is basically two types of workflows. So basing on these workflows, we have a different types of frameworks. Okay, so if you take any workflow, any LLM application or agentic AI, is normally follow this kind of workflows only. Either it's sequential or it's kind of a graph based application. Okay, so these are assume these steps are submodules. Okay, that module could be anything. So maybe front-end app, back-end app, maybe interacting with the external third-party application, maybe interacting with the cloud. Okay, you can treat that as anything. But the flows are these two things. Okay, any questions here? So depending upon these workflows, we have a lot of frameworks. So many frameworks are there. Okay, so basically, what is a framework? I think you already know it. So framework, a library, but just I want to highlight. Okay, so LLM frameworks are softwares, or platforms, or tools that help developers. See, here's the frameworks. Okay, are a tool for a developer to build, run, and manage applications powered by LLMs. Powered in the sense used in that application. LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Okay, so LLM frameworks is basically as a tools for developers to develop LLM application or agentic application. They provide abstractions and utilities. See, these are the two things: abstractions and utilities. It's try to abstract boilerplate code, and it will give a lot of utilities to make it interact with the LLMs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Gemini, or orchestrate prompting and response. See, so prompting and response. So currently, whatever the web application or mobile app you are using for ChatGPT is a kind of LLM app. There, so prompting, so they're taking web application or mobile application, taking our prompt, sending to LLM, OpenAI model, and getting the response. This kind of orchestrating. Okay, and so for using a memory, context, conversations. Okay, so your ChatGPT may not have a memory and conversations. Yeah, ChatGPT is having a conversation, but not all conversations. Maybe there is a limit, and it is not having a memory. Okay, but we can develop with these tools. So these are used to integrate with external tools or applications like database, APIs, search engines, all the stuff. Okay, we can deploy LLM powered applications, ChatGPTs, RAG based systems, all the stuff. Okay, these frameworks are used for these kind of things. Right, maybe you guys are mobile developers, you know React. So what's the purpose of React, or cross platform things, Flutter, all these things, why you are using Swift. Okay, so these kind of things, right? This is used to develop mobile applications basically. So like that, so to develop LLM applications, there are some other frameworks. Let's see what are those frameworks here. So there are many frameworks. I have given some of the popular frameworks here. So LangChain, Llama Index, Haystack, LangGraph, Hugging Face, AutoChain, VLLM, AutoGPT. Okay, these are the some of the popular LLM frameworks. Some are open source, some are paid versions. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about in our sessions or in this course. I'm going to discuss mostly LangChain and LangGraph because that is a popular, that I know, I worked on those things. Okay, but overall the overall understanding is same. Even though we have a different frameworks, all those things, idea is same. You're going to take the prompt, develop the applications, and give the response. Okay, so LangChain and LangGraph. So LangChain is for sequential workflows. I have shown you, right, and the LangGraph is for graph-based workflows. Okay, so I'm going to take the sessions on these two things. Okay, Llama Index is there. Hugging Face is also have some some it is also open source, but Haystack, AutoChain, VLLM, those are some are paid versions. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so before going for LangChain and other stuff, maybe I want to show one a simple app to interact with LLM. Okay, so I'll show that thing. Okay, I have created a simple application. So we call it as a program, Python program, to interact with the model. Okay, LLM model, and get the result. Okay, it's kind of instructional prompt. Okay, so here the thing is that so I have created a two, one is for Gemini, one is for OpenAI. There are two applications. I want to explain that here. Anyway, this using LangChain framework, I did this. Okay, I'll show you the simple example today, but I'll explain about LangChain in detail in the next session. Okay, so basically, so to interact with any model, so we need to specify the model, and we need to pass that prompt. The only two things: we need to select a model, and we need to pass the prompt. Okay, the prompt here is, what is the capital of India? Is the prompt I am giving. Okay, line number 60. Is text is visible, guys? Is it font is too small, or is it clear? It's clear, right? Okay, so basically I am giving a prompt to the model. So this is a prompt, so basically predict, it's instructional. Okay, so what's a model? That model I am specifying here, that model using that library, I am specifying a Gemini model, Gemini 1.5 Flash. Okay, so when we are interacting with the model, we need to pass a API key. Okay, so if you are not giving a API key, we will get a unauthorized kind of thing, that error. So that's why I'm giving a API key. And the API key I configured in environment variable, that you guys are already aware of that. So this is a simple way of interacting with LLM. Select the model and give the prompt. Let's see what is the capital of India and how we got it. So I'm running this one. So using the app name is app_Gemini. I'm running it. Okay, so this what is the capital of India? That's the question I asked, and I got the response. Capital of India is New Delhi. Okay, this is how the simple interaction with LLM. Any questions here? Okay, so let's take the same thing. So if you see here, I specified the model, I given a prompt. Okay, so that framework has given me that flexibility to connect with the model in two steps. That's the advantage of frameworks. That's one thing. Let's take this is for Gemini. Let's take another one, OpenAI. OpenAI also the same thing. I specified the OpenAI model, and I'm giving the what is the capital of India. Let's see what will happen if you run this one. Okay, So if you observe, I'm getting an error, rate limit error. You see, you exceeded your current quota. So OpenAI is not giving a free access for API calls. This is direct API call. Okay, so OpenAI is giving a chat GPT mobile app or web app to use OpenAI model for free. Okay, so that's why Gemini is giving that free thing for APIs. There is also limit. Okay, but we can use for testing purpose. Okay, so here so we can use models like this using frameworks. Any questions here? If you see these two models, the code is same. I'm giving a model and asking the prompt. Same in that Gemini as well. Okay, specifying the model and giving the prompt. Any questions here? Okay, if not, maybe I'll stop here for today, and in the next session I'll give a demo for line chain and all the details. Okay.